What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be installing a oil catch can on this car. Before we do that though, we got to circle back to last video. In that last video I showed you guys a clip of one of the cylinders, and in there I mentioned how one side looked good and the other side there was a lot of pooling where it shouldn't be. I thought the reason that there was pooling there was because the piston was damaged. After posting that, actually a few of you guys reached out saying, hey, I don't think the issue is a damaged piston. It's probably just an issue of excessive oil, pooling up there because of the PCV valve situation. I took a step back and I realized you guys are 100% right. So my thought process was the oil was pooling up at the very top of the piston where it really shouldn't be, because that was like the highest point. And I was thinking, if it's like this, it shouldn't pool up at the highest point. The engine is obviously angled in there. And so I didn't really stop just to consider the fact that the piston wasn't sitting straight up like this. It was at an angle. So because the cylinder's angled, where the oil was pooling up actually made a lot more sense. What that means is I really do think you guys were right, and the issue is just the blow by because the PCV valve situation, which is a well-known issue when you do this swap in this chassis. So what I've gone ahead and done is I cleaned the spark plugs to the best of my ability. I also cleaned out what oil I could. To be honest, I wasn't really able to get a lot of it, but I still got what I could. Threw everything back together, and what I'm gonna do now is just let the car run for a little bit. What should happen is that it's gonna smoke up on startup, but after running for a little bit of time, it should clear up and stop. The car is still smoking a little bit, but it is clearing up, and I gotta be honest, I'm really embarrassed that I missed the mark on this one, but I'm very grateful that there's really awesome people that are a part of this community who reached out, gave me really good advice or input in a constructive way. So obviously I'm gonna learn from this, and hopefully other people will too, so they don't make the same mistake that I did. In terms of next step, I'm gonna let the car just keep running. I'm not gonna film the whole process of that. What I'm gonna end up doing is installing a catch can on this car. It's not here yet, I just ordered it, so I anticipate it'll probably be here like a week and a half. And once it gets here, we're gonna pick this video up and I'll show you guys the process of installing that, because with the catch can, I should never have this problem again, at least in theory. So we'll pick this up once the part gets here. What's up guys? It has been a few days since that last clip and the catch can is in. What I got here is the Wilhelm Raceworks catch can. I mean, it makes the most sense just to get this because it's specifically made to go in this chassis with this swap, and it's gonna bolt right there on the firewall. So in terms of like modifications, I don't have to do anything to the chassis, it'll just bolt right in. The only thing that I'm gonna have to do is make an AN line that goes from the very top here of the catch can to the valve cover. I've actually never done that before, but after watching a couple YouTube videos, it seems really straightforward. So I went ahead and I bought this stuff in bulk just because I imagine that I'll be using this for other projects in the future. But yeah, anyways, I got the size 6 AN lines, just a bunch of random fittings. These are actually clamps just to make sure it looks nice. If you're curious what specific sizes you'll need to buy, if you go to the Wilhelm Raceworks website, he actually lists everything out. We already know that this outlet here goes to the valve cover. This one will end up going to the intake. This one right here is actually a drain valve. In order to do that, you have to actually put a bung on the upper oil pan over by the dipstick. And I really don't feel like doing that today. That's probably, I don't know, maybe it's a winter project. It's something I'll do at some point, but just not today. So essentially in the meantime, I'm gonna just take the easy route, and I got this little cap that will go there. And anytime I need to drain the catch can, I'll just undo the cap and have a little can right there so I can get the fluid out. For the moment, this will work, but I really do love the idea of hooking up a line so it automatically drains back. You never have to empty it. But also the other thing about that is that the oil goes back in the engine, which is where you want it. We're gonna get started doing what we can outside of the car, and we'll start off by just putting the cap on the bottom of the drain outlet. One thing I want to know is that I don't actually have AN wrenches, so these are probably going to get scratched up like the fittings are. I don't really care about that, to be frank with you guys, but if you do, you could probably use like tape or just buy an AN wrench so you don't have to worry about that. All right, and that one's on. If we come to the firewall here, it connects right here. So this is a stud that has, I think that's a 10 mil nut on it right there. And then on the other side, I already took the screw out, but there's supposed to be another 10 mil bolt right here. So you take those out and then it should just mount right there. The catch can is in the car. We're just gonna start really at the top and work our way to the bottom. So the first one we're gonna install is this right here, or the line that goes from the top of the catch can to the valve cover. And I realized that I made a slight mistake earlier. I installed this fitting right here just to realize that I think this fitting actually goes here, because obviously I need an AN adapter line there. And the instructions mention that for the catch can to valve cover, you'll need an adapter. And then for the catch can to the intake, it should just be straight AN line, so you won't need anything. That means I definitely need to throw this on here. The ports are now in the correct places. This is definitely a good example or a good reason why you should always read the instructions carefully, because literally in the first paragraph, it even says to move this port onto the catch can to make this whole deal work. So yeah, from here, we're gonna cut the line that goes from this port to this port. It's pretty already fraying on the end there, so I put some tape there. I'll go ahead, cut this end. I'll then put the fitting on here, and then I'm roughly gonna just kind of route it where I want it, mark it, and then I'll cut the second end and attach it there. First fitting is done, and I'll be frank, I kind of got annoyed with this one. I cut it at least, I don't know, 4 or 5 times maybe, because the ends were fraying, even if it was just a little bit, and I thought that that was the reason why this piece wasn't going on. Just to realize that this is actually, this piece right here has a reverse thread, so as soon as I started turning it counterclockwise, it went right on. Once I figured that out, boom, it went perfectly together. So this end is done. I'm just gonna kind of route it the way that I want it, and then we'll come back, cut the other end, and she'll be good to go. I got everything laid out roughly where it's supposed to be. What I wanted to do was try to get everything like as close to the firewall as possible. So something like this, I figured it just kind of keeps it, you know, nice, tidy, tucked away, and gives it just kind of a cleaner appearance. But I did not get the correct fitting. So the instructions state, hey, you should probably use a 100 to 120 degree fitting. I got a 45, I got a 90, I got a 180 degree. I did not get a 120. Is it the end of the world? Not really. I would just prefer it to be more tucked away, but that's okay. This is still gonna work. So I got that just finger tight right here. This is gonna go like this. And so what I'll end up doing is I'll have it like this. Hopefully that paints a good picture for you guys. So is it the cleanest look? No, but it will do. I know roughly where I gotta cut it, and we'll get this one cut and put on. We got the first line installed, and the next one should be a little bit easier, but we'll get to that in a second. Just a couple of things I want to note is that when I was cutting this, I did purposely make it just a little bit longer. I have intentions of just getting the proper 120 angle fitting here, just so I think it's going to look a little bit cleaner. So anyways, I cut this one purposely a little bit longer so that when I put the new fitting in, I have some wiggle room, because I'm assuming I'm going to have to cut it, because I think that routing will end up being shorter. The other thing is I also want to make sure, because the engine's obviously going to rock a little bit, that this has wiggle room and it's not under like constant tension. We're gonna be doing the last hose, which should be pretty easy because we don't have to like do any AN fittings or anything like that. So essentially we should be able to use just this bare AN line, connect it here, and then connect it over here to the manifold, obviously for vacuum. This is where the PVC was attached to initially. The issue is that is just way too big. Sometimes, like if the size is close, you can just kind of force it on. And this is a very good example of that. This hose was just slightly too small, but it was close enough where I could just shove it on and it was fine and not going to be an issue. Not the case here. This is just way too big. So I just got to shuffle some things around, and there are differences between the manifolds. So like when you're doing this, you know, the port you end up using may be slightly different. Essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this line, because this is actually a 5/16 hose, which fits perfectly right here. I didn't realize that initially. This was capped with the vacuum cap, by the way, but I took it off. I'm going to take this hose, put it right here. I'll just snip off the end so it's shorter, fits in really well right here. This will end up getting a cap, and then this line, one end will connect here. It'll come, I'm gonna probably bring it like underneath the intake, and then it'll connect right there. The car's not gonna run because that one line still needs to be capped, but the catch can is installed. So I ended up routing that underneath the throttle body, tucked it in on the other side of this water neck, and brought it over here. This is so snug on there that I'm not even concerned about putting any sort of clamp on there. I think it's gonna hold fine because it holds pretty well. I do gotta get the cap. I'm gonna run to the store and do that. Back home from the store, and I got the cap. So this vacuum port is, well, capped off. No need to worry about vacuum leaks there. Next step is to turn on the car. I think we're golden right now. I went through, I sprayed everything with like carb cleaner, messed with the lines. There's no change in idle or anything like that. The car is idling pretty high right now because I had disconnected the battery. And when you first started after disconnecting the battery, the car always idles high. From the last video, most of the smoke is gone. There's still a little bit of residual, but not too bad. That's all I got for this video. Thank you to everyone who reached out for advice on the smoking situation with this particular car. Stick around. I think in the next video, we're hopefully taking this thing to an autocross event. Fingers crossed.